Hi everyone, welcome to a new video. So I have been spending the week contemplating about creating new illustrations because I am going to be releasing some products. I have plans to be selling things in boutiques and online as well. And I still have some things from previous collections that I have created. However, I have, for some reason, have been really enjoying painting and creating whales. I mean, I've always loved sea creatures. And one of my favorite sea creatures has to be the whale because it's just so beautiful. They sing. They're slow and they just look like they're dancing when they jump up into the air, and I just think they're beautiful. They're just beautiful big creatures, and there are probably many reasons why I like whales, and I haven't really fully explored what whales represent or mean to me. So far, aesthetically, I'm just enjoying creating them, and they're fun creatures to draw because since they're so big in size and body mass, you can use that area to create different designs. I've been doing several motifs with whales that I'll be showing you in this video. Some of them are digital, others are on paper. Some of them are with watercolors or acrylic inks or just acrylic paint. And it's been a very fun exploration because I've been trying different techniques and different materials just to see how I can create it differently. And it's been a lot of fun. And so hopefully by the end of this week or next week, I will be posting on my website and other places online where and what I will be selling. And then also locally, I have plans with a friend of mine to be selling things as well. So it's really fun to have a project like this because usually when I go about painting, it's either for a commission, mainly it's for a commission. And when I don't have commissions and I have time to paint or to create for myself, then I just sit there and I'm like, where do I start? Because I always have so many ideas. They usually revolve around either very meaningful, profound portrait pieces or art therapeutic explorations, because that's something that I like to do with art, or they're like book ideas. And usually I have these huge, impossible ideas that I don't quite know where to start or how to approach them. And because they're so big, I just leave them as ideas, because if they're just ideas, they're still possible to create someday. So yes, like for example, one of the ideas that I have was to create like a little book, a little zine, you could say. Another one is to create poetic illustrations, because back when, before I had this writer's block, I used to write a lot of poetry and short stories mainly. I was just talking to a friend of mine that I'm illustrating her book, that short stories are just like these emotional, verbal outbursts of just like a momentary emotional verbal outburst. That's what I told her, because we were talking about how writing a book is structured differently than writing a short story or a poem. With me, whenever I've written, it was mainly that I had this either phrase that would just be on repeat in my brain, and it felt like it had to come out and needed to live on the page. And I would find a piece of paper, or I would wake up in the middle of the night and I would start writing it like a mad woman on this piece of paper, this thing that maybe didn't make any sense, but it's just like it had to come out. And or I would be listening to music and all of a sudden this spark, or I would see something and all of a sudden this story would be in front of me. Well, that no longer truly happens as much because of circumstantial things. I don't know. I don't really have that urge as much. However, I did have that urge with whales. I don't know why. It's probably because living close to the ocean, like 5 minutes away from the ocean by car, and you hear the horn of a boat sailing by, and you hear the seagulls, and if the wind is in the right, I don't know what, you get a scent from the ocean, and so you're very conscious of how close the ocean is. And I live right next to the Atlantic Ocean, and in one of the most dangerous areas of the Atlantic Ocean if you are in a ship, where there have been so many shipwrecks throughout history. And it's so rocky and cold and deep. And even though I lived right next to the Gulf of Mexico as a child, I still, maybe because of that, I am very aware of what lives in the depths of the ocean and all the things that can bite, sting, or paralyze you. And so that kind of stops me now, in addition to the cold water, of entering the water. I thought that we could sit down and paint a whale together, because I have done only one whale with acrylics, actually two in the same page. They're floating in the air above the ocean with clouds, stormy clouds behind them. But I'm not very happy with that piece because it's very low on contrasting colors. I don't know. I'm leaving it there to examine what I want to do. So it needs to sit and rest, and then I can come back to it. But so I thought we could do, in my sketchbook, a whale. So let me show you guys what I have accomplished this week. I hope you enjoy this video. Okay, so this was the painting that I was telling you guys about. This is done fully in acrylic, and the reason why there's tape here on the sides is because I have it taped on my wall, because that way I can look at it whenever I'm in the studio and really consider what I need to do. I believe maybe there should be more highlights around, or some more contrasting, some, what's the word? I forgot it. Some complementary colors here. I don't know. I need to consider it because the body of the whale is too much like this. I just need to, maybe need some washes of something. So it's hanging on my wall with tape so I can look at it and think about it whenever I'm down here. This is the one I was doing with purely acrylic inks, and then I used, I think I used my Derwent, my favorite Derwent Light Fast colored pencil, which is Forest. I love that to do the line art. Of course, this is nowhere near completion, but so far I just really love these streaks here, and I love the body. I'm just not sure what I want to do with it. It's just sitting there as well. What I tend to do when I'm not sure where to go with something is I leave it as is, take a picture with my iPad, and then play around with it and see what could be done. Another one that I did that I'm also not done with is this one with 3 different whales. There's like an octopus down here that I just wanted to fill the gap. I think I want to add things in these areas to really fill all the gaps. Here I was starting to do a starfish. And as you can see, I used one of my favorite mediums. Can you guess what that is? It's the charcoal powder. I love using this. Absolutely love it. With the Art Graph blue. I absolutely loathe it. I absolutely love this set. Pretty much all of them. I love all the sets that I have. So yeah. So I did that. And now on this background, which I've used acrylic inks, I have used my Sennelier, my okay, let's be mature, Christine. Hooker's Green with the fluorescent yellow to get these nice, amazing highlights. And then I mixed the Hooker's Green with the FW White. This one is much thicker and more opaque than the, I believe it's fully opaque. That's what you can see here. Then the Sennelier White, which I believe that's more of a translucent white. And below this, before I put the green on, I had turquoise. Yeah, turquoise. And then I grabbed some tape to create this effect here that I just wanted to try out. And I even wrote something, you know, just like a motivational little wish to be, just a motivation. I can't even read it anymore. I wish to be true and free and loved and whatever. I can't even tell what I wrote. But I just wanted to play with words. And so whatever came to mind is what I wrote. And so I thought we could use this background to draw a whale. Yeah, I think just maybe two whales, maybe one whale going that way and one whale going this way. We'll see, and then maybe a frame around it. I'm not sure. But I have my dirty palette out. Luckily, it's just paper, so I can have a new fresh palette. Because now it's too full. I can actually use this to collage later. And here you can see the tape that I was using. It's just regular art tape, or artist tape. Okay, so let me go grab my acrylic paints and we can start painting. Okay, so before we start painting, I wanted to show you the other whales that I drew, but on my tablet directly. These are the whales that I drew a couple of days ago when I was just sitting on the couch with my iPad. And I just first drew, just the shapes, and then I thought, well, what should I do with them? So then I started creating these like details within the whales, and I think they turned out really great. And so I'm slowly coloring them in one by one. For example, let's see. For example, this one, there's the line art, and then there's the colored version. And then another one that I did that I already colored, because it takes quite a while. It's this one. And now I am working on, there's so many layers here. I am working on this big one. On that one. And so far I've done the body color and some of the detail. That's all I've done so far. Since, there are other things that take priority at the moment, I just do it when I have a few minutes, or like if the kids are eating and I'm not eating at that moment, then I'll start doing it. So yeah, so I was going to look for a couple of reference pictures and then go from there. I have my acrylics here, as you can see, my box of acrylics. Some of them are Amsterdam, either standard or the expert series. Those are the Amsterdams that I like. I prefer the expert series versus the standard series. However, in the art shop that I tend to go to, they only have these really tiny expert series bottles, and it's not worth it. While in Germany, I had bought these larger, I think these are, how many milliliters? 150 milliliters. This one is 75. And so I only found this 120 milliliters, but of the standard series, and it's lacking. My favorite acrylics, though, are the Liquitex. And this little bad boy right here is super freaking expensive. This is a series 3 Liquitex, and it's a beautiful, one of my favorite colors, muted gray, but it's like 15 euros for 59 milliliters. Oh, so expensive, but so worth it. Yeah, so I have all these beautiful, vibrant colors. Another favorite color of mine, which is a go-to instead of always using white, is parchment. I love this color. This is a series 1, so it's not as expensive. I think this tube of 59 costs like 8 euros, I believe. Yeah. And then I also have some old Schminke acrylics. These are Finest Artist acrylics. These are pretty good. I have the Académie. They're okay. I prefer the Prima Krill over the Académie. These are also Schminke. And then I have my beloved Sennelier acrylics, which are also really, really good. Those are my recommendations with acrylic paints once you've gotten really into painting with acrylics. I would definitely go for this. Another brand that is really, really good are Golden, which I have some of their fluid. I have 2 bottles because they're like way expensive. And since I already had all of these acrylics, I didn't buy Golden, but I have used them. So I have my paper palette here. I have all my brushes here off of camera. And let me look for a reference picture, and then we're going to pick our colors. Okay, so I found some whale shapes. I'm not really going to be drawing like exactly as a reference picture. I just like wanted to see the shape of the body. And so I'm going to be doing one, I think I'll do one that's going up like this and one that's going down like this. And then I'll have space here to do something. I think that's a good idea. So, yeah, so probably these words won't be fully visible, but it's just like a nice intention to have in the painting. All right, so the first one is going to be going up. So I have this complete. Now I was thinking of picking my colors. Okay, so since the background is green, I'm going to be using a lot of warm colors, more like reddish tones. So I will be using my cadmium red. I will be using my cadmium middle. Is it middle yellow or cadmium yellow medium? I will be using parchment, and I will be using, if I find it, this green gold. I will be telling you what colors you can use if you don't have these. So you'll have a yellow, you would have a red, which is what I would be using. Ideally, as I've said in my other videos, you should have sienna, raw sienna. And to make it more transparent, you just dilute it with water or with acrylic medium to create a wash. And then this green gold, you can just use a green and then mix some yellow or the raw sienna, and that's what gives it a nice color. So let's see. I might use a bit of this brilliant blue or just blue to do some details. Okay, so I'm only just going to put a dab of paint because, you know, I don't want it to dry because it is acrylic paint. It does dry very quickly. So just little by little, you can always grab more paint. The only downside with these Amsterdam bottles is that it's really hard to squeeze it out. Okay, I'll grab this green yellow. I love this green color. It's just to die for. Okay, so those are the colors I'm going to be having. I'll also use the muted gray. This is just to darken my colors. Just put it over here instead of using black. So I have that over there. Then I'll put some of the parchment, just a little smidge, over here on the side. So this is my palette. The yellow, the red, the green, yellow, is it green yellow? Green gold. the muted gray, which is a very dark purple, and the parchment. I do have a little spray bottle that is very useful when either painting with watercolors, gouache, and especially with acrylics, because you can just spray your paints to keep them wet, and that way they last longer. Just occasionally just go and wet them. So I'm going to put a very light layer of the yellow, the yellow, and then on top the red. Okay, unfortunately my battery died when I was still painting and I didn't realize. But the only thing that I've done so far was add a bit more red. And then with my palette knife, I added some yellow and some of the green, golden green, to give it texture. That's the majority of it. And I added some of the parchment here to the eye. So now this is where we're approaching the fun side of painting this, where you can start adding details to the body of the whale, and also think about the highlights and the shadows. So I'm going to grab more paint because I was at a meeting and now all my paint is dried. That's the downside of acrylics. All of it is dry. So now I need to grab more. That's why I said in the beginning to always grab a little bit and continue as you go. Okay, so I'm gonna let it dry, and then I believe I'm going to do a wash of a blue on top, and then I'm done. Okay, so let's see how this goes. So I have primary blue, acrylic ink, and ultramarine blue. I love ultramarine blue. It's my favorite. And I have the purple, just straight purple. Grabbing my flat brush. Just put some water down. I should do this with my sponge. I'm gonna do the background first and then go from there. I'm gonna cover these additional sea creatures that I drew. They're like seahorses, but they're super big in comparison to the size of the whale. So all right, it's all wet, and let's see. I'm going to start with the ultramarine. It's just a wash. If you don't have acrylic inks, you can do this just watered down acrylics, or mix it with mixing medium. That also works. Or if you have gouache, you can also do like a light layer of gouache. All right, now while it's wet, I'll add just some areas with this like primary blue. Oops, one on the whale. Something here. Okay. I'm gonna spray it here. I want it to disperse. Don't want any hard lines. It's good. And now I'm gonna grab the purple. And add it here. Do the same thing. Bringing it up and then spraying it. Okay, let me spray. I like that. Remove some of it here. Might add some purple over here. Yeah, just add some purple here. And we'll spray. That looks good. And I think with that, I am done. All right, well, that's the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this little tutorial and the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.